Body, Mind, Spirit Radio, your life connection to the information for a healthy body, an enlightened mind, and a renewed spirit.
Welcome. This is Body, Mind, Spirit Radio. My name is Annette Aben, and our show today is In Touch Interviews. Body, Mind, Spirit Radio invites you to give us a call if you'd like to participate by asking a question or if you'd like to listen on the phone. And that number is 646-378-0378. If you want to speak to our guest, make a comment, offer an opinion, some insight, please remember to press 1 on your phone so that I know that you want to talk. If I don't see the hand on my switchboard, which means you didn't press 1, I will not call on you. If you would like to join us in the chat room that has been established, that is over our website link. And once again, this is Body, Mind, Spirit Radio, and we are in touch interviews with, it's probably going to sound redundant after a while to say, with a very special guest. This is a very special guest. I like to think of everyone as very special, yet I am so intrigued by what this person has to offer us this evening. Kevin Szawala, also known as Mr. Peace, did quite a bit in the relatively short amount of time that he has been on this earth. I should say has accomplished quite a bit. He's a graduate of the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, no small feat, I might add, with degrees in economics, Spanish, and global change. He also attended Wayne State University, where he picked up his master's in business administration with a focus on marketing and entrepreneurial management. So now you may say to yourself, well, gee, Annette, we're going to hear all about what this young man's doing in the corporate world and where he's headed with his life. We are going to find out what he's doing with his life, but believe me, it has a lot less to do with the degrees he got and more about what he learned while he was in school and what he decided to do by letting go of his education to follow his heart and follow his bliss. We are going to ask you to join me in welcoming to Body, Mind, Spirit Radio this evening Mr. Peace himself. I am turning on his microphone. Hello, Kevin. How are you?
Hey, how are you, Annette? I'm doing great.
I am great as well. I am so anxious for people to get to know the person that I've gotten to know over the course of our conversations and what I've read about you. I am so excited. When I introduced you with the degrees and all the education behind you, I did not say to people, this man is barely through his 20s, which is very, very true. But when you've got all that education and you've got all that dream and desire, when you're putting yourself out to go through the college experience and get there, what in the world would make you walk away from this particular type of life and lifestyle to pursue what you're doing right now?
Right. I mean, it was the hardest decision that I've ever had to really make in my life. It was probably last March when I was out with my friend, and he just said, "Hey, Kevin, when you decide to separate from corporate America, it's going to be the hardest thing that you've ever had to do in your life." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." But then he kind of just paused for a second, and then he said it again, but just looked so serious about it. He was like, "It's really going to be hard." And I was like, "Whoa." And when I finally decided to separate, this was last July, my heart just wasn't there. And, I had always been kind of following other people's dreams for me, and I wasn't following my own. And so when I finally had the opportunity financially and emotionally and everything else in my life, that it just kind of made sense to make the leap. That's what I did.
So you made the leap to follow, and I was going to ask you, but you answered it before I did, whose idea was this to get all these degrees? Were you really that interested? Because I know so many people that took economics classes and just, Z'd out in the middle of a class. You got a whole degree in econ, for heaven's sakes. Wow.
Right.
That's perseverance, my friend. That's perseverance. So
right.
You walked away from corporate America because there was something inside of you that you would rather do. So what are you doing?
Well, right now I am giving school assemblies full time. So I go around to primarily K through 12 schools in the state of Michigan, and spread my various messages with the students. I also do hip hop, so I do some performances within my talks at the schools, but then also outside of that at various churches and other organizations. I'm also going to be involved with an upcoming initiative this summer. It's called Movable Peace. So I'm going to be going around the state to visit various community festivals and art fairs and farmers markets, talking about peace and trying to bring more and more people together. Yeah.
So these, the children, the young people that you're speaking to, the people that are present at the assemblies when you talk about going into schools, when you speak to them, what are you saying? I mean, what are you trying to accomplish with them? I understand the message is peace. I totally understand that. Everything from peace of mind to peace the way we treat each other. But you've got a room full of 10th, 11th, and 12th graders sitting in front of you. Yeah. What's the message you're delivering to them?
You know, like the core of the message focuses around passion and purpose. And what I see in today's world and today's society is so many people that are going through the motions is kind of how I refer to it. And, you know, I see on Facebook every day status updates that say I'm bored, I'm bored, I'm bored. And people that just, you know, really haven't found that sense of purpose in their life, and that all these topics that the schools bring in to talk about, you know, suicide and bullying and violence and substance abuse, I only see those as like the symptoms really of bigger core issues and root problems that are not having that sense of purpose in your life, and, you know, being isolated from others and not being connected. And if you have that thing that's, you know, every morning, like you're waking up like yourself and myself, you know, and we're just on fire for life, and, you know, just got that fire in our belly and doing something that truly makes us come alive, that you don't have time, you know, for any more of those abusive habits in your life, and that you don't have to fill those voids with something negative. And so that's what I'm trying to instill in them, you know, is that passion and that search, you know, for what it is that makes them passionate and brings them that fulfillment, you know, in their lives.
And this obviously, it comes from your heart. I mean, there's an energy that I sense in you as you're telling me this, that the more you got into it, it was almost like I felt your pace quicken, and you started moving. And like we're walking along, we're sauntering, and we're chatting, and all at once, as you start getting into it, our pace quickens, and we're hoofing, we're moving. And
right.
And it must be the same way. I've watched some of your videos, and I do encourage people to go to your site, and we'll give that address in a moment, to watch this interaction, which I just think is fascinating, because we gave your credentials at the beginning in regards to education, and I'm giggling because I hear you. I've seen what you've accomplished in regards to sheepskin, but then I watch you in the videos, and you look like you're one of the kids.
Right.
When you present yourself, I mean, you're right there with them. Is this what fuels a lot of your passion, is to show them, hey, I'm just one of you?
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure. I mean, you know, I like any kid, any age, really, they can get a sense almost immediately if you truly care about them and if you have something vested in their well-being. And, you know, they know, like, when you don't, and they'll tune out. So, I mean, my heart and, like, the reason that I do this more than anything is that it just totally bleeds for the youth. And, you know, I know how hard it is growing up today with all the peer pressures, and now the social media aspect of things is making it even harder, you know, to fit in and be accepted by your peers. So, yeah, I mean, that's really what fuels my energy, and it coming from my heart. You know, I always ask the question in my talks. I say, you know, close your eyes. You know, I ask everyone to close their eyes and point to themselves, and 9 out of 10 people will point to their heart. And, you know, sometimes that's the only thing that people remember on you is your heart. And so when you kind of begin with that in mind and what you want people to remember you for, you know, that's really kind of what fuels my drive to relate to them and to kind of hit them at the heart level. Yeah.
What's the reaction you get from the kids?
Oh, it's, Overall, it's that I had some type of positive impact on their lives. That I touched their hearts by sharing a strong part of mine. And there's always like the kids, really any age, that will kind of give you some guff or like that heckle you a little bit, and they just want that extra attention from their peers. And when I was their age, I was probably doing the same thing when we had speakers come in. But it turns out, that at the end of the talks, they're the ones that were hurting the most inside, and that they're the ones usually that reach out to me the most as well. That, me keeping it real with them and sharing my testimony and, my story of passion and, how I've overcome some obstacles in my life really had a tremendous impact on their life.
What I found intriguing about the presentation, because I noticed that you also present not just to the youth, but you also present to the leadership from the adult aspect of lives. At least I saw a couple of presentations, and I wasn't sure if these were school administrators, people you were trying to convince or demonstrate what it is you will be presenting to the young people. Do you find that even the adults listen with maybe the youthful aspect of their unfulfilled dreams or their unignited passions as well?
Yeah, they do. They do. Like I said, every talk's different, and that's what keeps it so fresh for me. And why I just love doing it when I'm up there. I'm 110% alive. But I speak to age 5 to 95, and there is always that question I'll be asking older people is, not what do you want to be, but who did you want to be? And I remember asking some of the key people in my life, when I first made this transition, that same question, and not to put them at fault or, put anybody at fault that, decided to do what was best for their family at the time. But I always posed that, if you're at that younger age, and really any age, to step into your purpose or to step into your true calling or something that brings you more joy than where you're at right now, I encourage people to do that. And I try to humble myself before any audience that I speak in front of. And I always, tell some of the older crowds that, them being there and, being full of all this peaceful energy and, all the work that they've done in their lives, it gives me more fuel for what I do. And then I know me being, the younger person in the crowd, it gives them that extra fire too to kind of keep going with their lives. And, that it gives them more hope as well, that they see somebody at my age, in this age bracket that's really fighting for peace and devoted their life to that cause.
Have you ever gotten a comment? Obviously, it's not like you've been doing this for 8 or 9 years. This is the actual being out in the public is relatively new, but the cause for peace is not so much new, and I'll touch on that in a minute because I thought it was interesting, something that I read in one of the statements that you made on your site. But have you ever had an adult maybe catch up with you a month or two after you've spoken with them? By adult, I mean somebody not in high school or younger, and say, you know what, I've decided to follow my dreams. I've signed up for that painting class, or I've decided to go for those cooking lessons, or, maybe that's just something you can look forward to from this point.
Right. Yeah, I've had that happen many times, and that probably brings me my greatest joy in doing this. That's my hope, that I'm going to be in a store one day or at the airport or somewhere, and somebody taps me on the back and says, hey, I'm doing this with my life and I'm following my dreams, and whatever age, that's what brings me that great energy. And it's something that's at the end of my voicemail too, is to tell me something that you're passionate about. And you can imagine the responses that I get, really any age, and some people that call me for the first time and they're like, oh, I really don't know you that well, Kevin, but I'm passionate about cooking and my family and my friends and people and art, whatever it is. And I always love hearing those voicemails, like even when like you called me, I think it was about cheesecake or something. So
yes,
that's what really brings me joy.
And it's funny too, because I have a cheesecake cooling in my kitchen for an order I just got last night or this morning for pickup tomorrow. And it's funny because when I heard that in your voicemail, I thought, something I'm passionate about. I thought, cheesecake. who isn't passionate about cheesecake? Of course, I've met those people, but they have passion for oranges, I guess. Well,
right.
This is In Touch Interviews on Body, Mind, Spirit Radio, and we are in touch right now with Kevin Szawala, who is also known as Mr. Peace. Why did you decide on Mr. Peace, Kevin?
It was kind of given to me. It was back in 2006, and I started an event on campus in Ann Arbor where I was going to school. It was called Peace Day, and that's promoting ethnic and cultural equality, was the acronym for the day. And it was a diversity celebration concept that I brought up to connect people around the campus and the community. It was a fun-filled day. We have like food and games and entertainment, and it's just a great way for people from all different backgrounds, all walks of life to come together in community. And so a couple of my friends that saw that I was doing this, they started calling me Mr. Peaceful. And then one of the local newspapers that did an article on it, they dropped the full, and it just became Mr. Peace. So now it's Peace, Peace Man, Mr. Peace. That's kind of what people refer to me as anywhere I go.
That's fabulous. It only gives people something to pause in their hearts with when they hear the word peace, and I'm sure that it means so many different things to so many different people. But one of the energies that I picked up when I was, tracing your steps through your journey with everything that you have available for us to get to know you better through, was the sense of peace that I'm hoping these young people pick up from what you do. In other words, you make it look so effortless. You're dancing around, you're jumping around, you're talking, you're right in there with them, you're backing up, you're moving all over the place, you're asking them to do things. But you couldn't be that comfortable if you didn't feel a sense of peace about it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I've always described peace. Peace to me, is where, despite all the chaos around us and the trouble and violence and noise, that, despite all of that on the outside, that we still maintain that inner sense of tranquility within. And to have that inner peace, you have to have it before you can give it out. And so one of the common goodbye phrases is peace out. You've probably heard it before, and it just hit me a couple years back. It's probably about the same time that I started being called Mr. Peace, where someone had just said it so vividly, so loudly, that it just hit me really hard and struck a chord in me, and I said, no, not peace out, peace in. So now, like the tagline to all my emails and messages that I send people, I always say peace in. And people kind of think about it, but in reality, you do have to have that inner peace before you can give it out.
That makes I was going to ask you why peace in, and you through the course of conversation, obviously it came out as to why. And I thought it was interesting too that when you are talking about peace isn't necessarily always being quiet. Peace is being comfortable with who you are and being who you want to be, which is not precisely the site. It's being who I want to, the number 2, written as a 1-2, not TWO, to be, correct?
Correct, yep.
And this is the site where we would go to find out about all things Mr. Peace, past,
That's
present,
right.
and future.
Yeah, being who I want to be.org, and then really on any social media avenue, YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook, Mr. Peace 101 is the username.
Fantastic. I think that is absolutely incredible. One of the things that struck me, it made me think, and I don't remember if you asked it or if it came up in just something I read that you had written. What makes a best friend?
Wow. Yeah, that's a question I've asked to thousands of people across this state and a couple others. It's really interesting because every time I ask it, I get a wide variety of answers, but it's never ever that something that makes that person a best friend to them is, how deep their pockets are, or how deep they aren't, or what kind of car they drive, or what kind of car their parents drive, what kind of house they live in, the brand name on their clothes. It's always comes back to who the person was and who the person is inside. It's about all the traits from the person's heart. If they're kind and encouraging and trustworthy, if they got your back, if they're loyal, all those attributes that make a best friend. And it's just something for people to think about. Is, I was asking, why didn't anybody mention any of those things in our lives? And the response is always because they don't matter, because they're not important.
And it's important to understand that knowing that would pretty much be your answer, because I'm such a Weisenheimer. I usually don't ask a question if I don't know the answer to it. But it was because I knew that if you said that, people would really, really think and listen very closely to their own hearts. But that prompted the way I presented the introduction, because in a society where we value the person that has accomplished so much, because we see the vehicle they're driving, the clothes they're wearing, the home they live in, the homes they own, the vacations they take, fill in the blank. It isn't about that at all. And regardless of what you know nothing if you don't know how to be in touch with that core center. And you know a tremendous amount. I mean, you don't get all that paperwork from these two very prestigious colleges in Michigan if you didn't know what you were doing. I mean, you may have eked by on a C average, but I doubt that highly. And I'm not asking you to divulge your grades. That's none of my business. But I was just so taken by it that I thought, Speaking of taken by it, how did your family, I know you've got parents and siblings, how did they react to all of this? Or were they part of the reason why you made the switch?
It was, that was another hard thing to do. When I had sat down with my mom and dad and, for the first time told them that this is what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And, the first obvious questions came up, how are you going to support yourself? How are you making any money doing it? Are you, like what's going on? And I remember just, sitting down with my dad, in particular, and just telling him, Dad, I love you, man. And he's like, all right, son, what do you want? And I said, no, I like really love you. And, and again, I just came back to, what did you guys want to be? And, my mom, my dad, my aunt, my uncle, even my grandma, who are now some of my biggest supporters. And it's so great to have my blood, in my corner behind me. But at the time, they were kind of against it. And, but I had asked them, what did you want to be? And every answer I got was something different than what they spent, 30 to 35 years of their life doing. And, again, that's what they did with the tools they had. And I just kind of said, I'm at that age right now in my life with very few financial ties, big financial ties, and it's something that I just got to try, because I always tell people to try to live a life of minimal regrets, if you can, so that I wasn't going to be 10 years or 15 years from now looking back and saying what could have been.
Good point. Good point. Are your siblings younger than you or older?
I have two. They're both younger. Sister's 21, so a couple years below me, and then my little brother is age 11. So two big inspirations in my life, and a little bit of an age gap between myself and him. But it's been very great, to see the impact that I've had on both of them over the course of the last couple of years, especially. But just kind of being reborn, through my little brother growing up, and when I couldn't really remember all that with my sister, us being only a couple of years apart, but seeing him in a 14 to 15 year span, and that age difference where I can kind of see him grow up and kind of live my childhood years, through him. It's been amazing.
And I would imagine that you are somewhat of a hero, not only to your brother and your sister, being, the elder sibling and out there making your dream come true, but to your family, your parents as well. You must, if you don't see that, it's just a sensation that I'm picking up that is probably what's happening. But as they would be seeing you as their hero, who are your heroes?
Oh, I have quite a few, but to put it, obviously the ultimate people I really strive to embody, Jesus himself and Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King Jr., a lot of the peace activists before me, and that are a continuous inspiration in my life and fuel for my fire. But also my speaking mentor, his name is Jim Tooman, and he's from Royal Oak, Michigan. He's been speaking since 1980 and touched close to 3 million lives worldwide, and speaks to youth primarily as well. And just really, was somebody that believed in me and saw me as the speaker that I already wanted to be. And what it took in my life at that point where I decided to go full force towards this dream was it only took one person telling me that. And I tell all the students that I'm speaking to, that if I got to be that one person to, that believes in you to pursue your dream and to see it through to completion, then let me be that person, because really that is all it takes, and that's the power that all of us have as human beings to lift up each other. And so those are probably my biggest, outside of my family and friends.
I really enjoyed the quote that you had, and I don't remember which part of your site it was on. This is a treasure hunt, folks. Go to that site that we mentioned earlier. We'll mention it again in a moment, and find this quote from Jim. And if you know what I'm going to say, you can say it with me. Finding your purpose and God's gift. Go ahead, because I'm sure you've got it written on your heart.
Finding your purpose is God's gift to you, and fulfilling your purpose is your gift back to God. Right.
Beautiful. Yep, that's the one. Beautiful. Absolutely. And I kept thinking to myself, when we are most at peace is when we know we could stand absolutely stripped bare in front of the Creator and say, wow, this was good. Because we know that we're just so filled with joy, which I really believe is our purpose, is to be that joy, to be that light, living light walking around. Because if a light is bright and shining, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. And we're supposed to be. All of that great energy that was poured into us at the time of creation come back out again. It's like, here we go, ta-da, use me all up. In fact, there's a lady that I don't know, we ladies that are old enough to be your parents, remember a comedian named Irma Bombeck, and she was an absolute riot. She told her message very much the same as yours, but she did it through housewife humor and woman-to-woman humor, and she literally made this great statement one time that said, I hope to be standing in front of God one day and say, I used it all up, I have nothing left. And I thought, wow, how cool. I took everything you gave me and I used it all up. I have nothing left. And I thought that, to me, would be great. It's living your life, and you seem to be doing that. You seem to be pulling it together. You started this whole movement, like you said, back in college. You identified PEACE, which I thought was fabulous, and I know that's coming up again in Ann Arbor in September of this year.
Yep.
That would be the 6th annual, correct?
Correct, yeah.
What's going to take place there?
Right, so, when I was a student, kind of going back to how I created this event, it was just after Prop 2 passed, which put a ban on the use of affirmative action. And as we've seen take place in California and some other states, when they passed a similar proposal, a lot of the diversity ratios dropped significantly the years following that. And it was my idea, obviously I was disheartened by the bill, but that to try to move past, that whole concept as a society. And so this event, which was not a cure-all by any means, was just one step I felt in the right direction to make people, and students especially, that were of a diverse background on campus, to make them feel respected for who they are and for what they believe in, and to make future prospective students want to come to our school still. And so I'm very proud to say that, I hope it's partially because of my event and many others that took place on campus in the years following 2006, that all the ratios have remained the same, and we still have diversity as our staple. But really, diversity at that time, and as it still is on the college campus at Michigan and many others, that's one thing. But how do you connect that diversity? That's a whole other issue. And so this Peace Day model was a way to do that, where you're not preaching down anybody's throat, but that it actually is a way for everyone to come together and celebrate their differences, but also see that we all have some of the similar struggles that we go through, despite skin color and socioeconomic background and political affiliation and religious belief, that a lot of us are going through the same things. And I always tell my friends, too, because that one quote by Mark Twain, I never let my schooling interfere with my true education. And I feel that if you're not getting out of your comfort zone, which is a dangerous place to be, that you aren't really experiencing that complete wealth of knowledge that's out there. And I had friends, saying, I'm at U of M, I go to a top 25 school in the nation, and I'm here solely for my academics. And that's great, but I still don't feel that if you don't, get to meet other people that are from a other culture than yourself and other belief system, that you don't really grow. And you either embrace the diversity and grow, or you resist it and kind of struggle, has kind of been my outlook on it.
Well, don't you think, too, that by resisting, what you're really propagating is fear?
Sure.
And fear has all the wonderful subheadings of, prejudice and anger and resentment and fill in the blank, which are all the things that are the complete antithesis of peace.
Yeah. And I mean, for so many, fear is stronger than love. And that's, and like you talked about bliss, I think, in the intro, but for many, ignorance is bliss, where it's easier to be ignorant about somebody else's culture and somebody that is different than you than it is to be open-minded and put down some of the preconceived assumptions that you have.
And that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So let's say I'm heading up to Ann Arbor on this beautiful September day to attend this Peace Day. What will I experience? I mean, I know what I'll experience inside.
Sure.
What will be presented? What kind of an atmosphere?
Right, like the physical side of things. Well, so it's right in the main campus diag, so it's right in the heart of campus on this brick pavement out next to the Hatcher Graduate Library there on campus. And it's a beautiful surrounding park with trees and grass that if you want to sit on the grass, you can do that. But what we do is on the stairs of the library, we set up live entertainment. So throughout the day, we have spoken word poets, hip-hop artists, bands, break dancers, a cappella singers, singer-songwriters, you name it, we probably have it, performing throughout the day, all peace-related. We also have free pizza and ice cream. Our two co-sponsors last year were Ben & Jerry's and Domino's, so we're hoping to have them on board again for this year, so people can get some free ice cream and pizza and bottled water. And then it's just an opportunity, in between songs and while some other peace music is playing, that people can go and connect with other people that are there and get to introduce themselves to each other and hopefully get out of their shell a little bit and meet some great minds and great souls. And there's things for the kids. We got chalk, so they can chalk up the whole diag, which they did a great job last year. And we have peace puzzles, so people are putting together those. And, we just got puppets and, all these different things for the kids going on, bubbles. And, so it's just a real welcoming atmosphere and peaceful atmosphere, and people are just happy to be there usually. It's a Sunday afternoon, and knock on wood, we've had great weather like the past 5 years. So
I hope so too. That would be fantastic. Is
Right.
there a charge for this event?
No, the admission is free as well. Yep.
Fantastic. So your performers are of diverse culture and background, as well as the people who attend. So it's not
Correct.
just, learning how a song is sung, let's say in Swahili, but you might be standing next to somebody from Portugal who is just as interested in what somebody from Michigan eats for lunch as you are, wondering what somebody from Portugal wears when they go to church on Sunday or whatever.
Yes, right.
Neat. How neat. How incredibly wonderful. And U of M Ann Arbor, if people have not been there, that's just a fantastic location. I was born and raised in Michigan. I don't live there now, but I did, and wow, you guys owe it to yourself to check that out. There was something else that you were involved in or started. Maybe you touched on it, but I didn't get it. SES, What is that?
SES, yeah. Students Empowering Students, and that was an organization I created my senior year of college, so it was right after this Peace Day had first taken hold, and it was my idea, especially with my speaking background, and really empowering somebody else, being like the greatest gift that you can give another human being, that I wanted to have other students that were interested in not only enhancing their public speaking skills, but really touching some lives, to go out around the college campus and host workshops and events to promote more peace and nonviolence, and have talks on the concepts of diversity and tolerance. And so what we've done, since that 2000, I believe it was 7 or 8 that we formed that, myself and some other students that have come and gone since that time, we go around campus and we do hold talks for people that are interested, especially multicultural organizations. They seem to reach out the most, and we do hold workshops with them to talk about a lot of these issues that they're facing on campus, and trying to tailor, some of the examples that I have and that I use in my talks to everybody's individual story, because everyone's got their own story, and so that's what makes it unique, and what people relate to the most is when you do share your truth. So that's kind of what we've had going, and that organization has continued up until now.
That's empowering and impressive. I'm just so taken by it, because there are too many people who don't know how to relate to each other, but yet don't realize why it's so important. And what fantastic foundation work you laid for yourself with these opportunities, these groups, these scenarios that you set up that are still going on today, that not only brought you closer to your focus, and it didn't deter from you completing your education, as it were, in the brick and mortar buildings, but it also helped you realize that you can learn as much from connecting with each other as you can connecting with the textbooks and connecting with the professors and getting your essays in and your thesis done and the whole 9 yards. And wow, I mean, that's incredible, because this is also bringing more people out of that academia situation, perhaps with their degrees, perhaps without, but at least it's giving them some food for thought. Are they going to struggle over Aristotle? Or are they going to decide to just go with what they feel inside? That is so amazing. And you have some people in the
just anything in your life, really, where you really try to grow from it, and you go in with that mentality. I teach 8th graders at my church in my hometown of Szawala, Michigan, and a lot of times there's a couple people that that they ask me, well, do I have to do this, or do I have to participate? Do I have to do this? And I say, no, you don't have to do that. I mean, you don't have to be here, but as with anything in life, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. So when I kind of go from that angle, usually it makes them want to take part in it, and that they kind of get off of that wagon that they're on of, I don't know if it's just being lazy or just, wanting to follow the other crowd that says, it's not cool to try to grow on some of these concepts. But, I was of like the same mindset growing up as well. And even like when I had my first couple classes at U of M, I would just learn the information and just tell me what it is so I can spit it back out onto a piece of paper and get the easy A. And I didn't care if I grew or not. And then finally my senior year, when I had these transformations and epiphanies happen in my life, and coming to find out, that there is more to life, I started to get to know my professors and my graduate instructors, and really trying to develop these relationships with them, that I wasn't just going to class, reading a book, and then taking a test, but I was actually becoming a better person because of it.
it is a testimony to your effort for your own life that will lead other people to find their peace within. Yeah. Because of this, we will create not just a generation, but an entire, I almost want to say like a quilt of generations, where we have crossing the borders of color and race, crossing the borders of gender, crossing the borders of age and ethnicity. It's going to be amazing to watch the young people that you reach out to today as they grow, and then they become parents, and then their siblings and neighbors, and then their parents watching them. I think this is going to be truly a magnificent, almost like a human body of many colors, as opposed to just Joseph's coat of many colors, if you will.
Right.
And there are people actually in a chat room here on our site that are enjoying you so much. And one of the ladies there, Susie, asked me to tell you, I think Peace In is just awesome. And I thought, way to go. I said, I will tell him.
Awesome.
So
yeah.
She's having fun.
Okay.
In fact, her youngest son just graduated from Army boot camp a week or so ago, and she has a family where most of her children are in the service. In fact, several of them currently active well into their adult years. And this, for them, is their calling. They do feel that now. She is a mother, watching her children one by one march off into, military service, has got to be thinking, hey, guys, can't you just open a hot dog stand somewhere and make some money and be okay with that? But They are following their bliss. This is what they want to do. This is how they see it. So, sorry, Susie, they might not be all Mr. Peace, but hey, they're all doing it. They're all making it happen, as you are making it happen and helping others make it happen.
Right.
You
and I mean, just to your point there, Annette,
sure.
like the greatest tragedy, is not that we die too soon, but, that sometimes we wait too long to live. And so, I mean, I'm sure there's been stories that you've heard and I've heard as well, that somebody that maybe they did burn out at 25 or 19 or 30 or whatever it was, but they did lead a full life and a happy life and a fulfilled life, and I mean, to be able to, say that what you're doing today in your life, that, you are fulfilled, and that if you died tonight, you'd be happy. I mean, that's what it's really all about, I think.
It's funny that you said that. I had surgery about 6 years ago, and I remember telling a friend of mine before they took me in, I said, when you see my folks, my family out in the waiting room, tell them if I don't come out of this, I'm fine, I'm happy. I at this point in my life, I can't imagine anything else I could have done. And she went, oh, for heaven's sakes, don't talk like that. And I thought, no, you don't understand. I want them to know that. I mean, anybody could go for any reason. It's not just surgery. But so I agree with you. I think that's absolutely thing that we need to keep in mind and remember as a family, as a people of just this universe, this world, that is hugely important. I would like to ask you to share with us what are Blossoming Genius and Keeping It Real.
Yeah, they were two online TV shows that I started. I say were because I'm not as active with them. It's more like kind of a biannual and quarterly thing that I do now with them. But it was a TV show that I started on college campus my senior year with a friend named Steph Mansour, who is following her dreams now out in Chicago. She's a fitness instructor out there. And it was called Keeping It Real with Steph and Kev. She's Steph, and I'm Kev, and we're keeping it real. That was our tagline. And we just we had 7 shows. We did one season, then we've done a couple of post-college shows, and taped right there on campus through Wolf TV, and just talked about various issues that students were facing. So we had a lot of people come on for live interviews that were in various organizations all around campus and our age that they could relate to dating and relationships and family issues. We had one, about passionate jobs. So all these different topics that we wanted other people to become aware about, and also hopefully gain some tools that they could use in their life and try to implement that. And then kind of on a similar angle, I started something called Blossoming Genius, and it started off with just 7 people, and that was including myself and some of my close friends, that we wanted to track month by month all of our dreams, all of our passions, and do it visually, so through video and through interviews. And so we'd tape each other, sometimes in action doing our passions, and sometimes just explaining to people, okay, here's my goals for this year, here's what I'm doing month by month to accomplish that. And it was like a visual way that other people that wanted to pursue a similar path could do so. And now that's become more of just like an annual reflection for myself and some other people that we meet every New Year's now, all the Blossoming Geniuses, and we share with each other our stories and what we did this year and what we want to do for the following year and the future years. And so it's just kind of like the concept, Blossoming Genius, being that, all of us inherently have that genius inside of us, and it just takes sometimes other people in our lives believing in us to see it flourish, to see it blossom. And that's what I, again, really want to get and instill with all my talks that I give, is that same fact.
If I said to you, vision plus action equals what would your answer be?
Vision plus action equals mission. Yeah, your vision are like your deepest needs. Like your deepest needs, is kind of like what your vision becomes, and then your action is how you are going to meet those needs in your life. And so, like, one example is, like, for my mission, it's to create a world full of peace, freedom, and awareness. 3 of my deepest needs: peace, freedom, and awareness, by serving others through unconditional love. And that's my action. So it's something real simple, but it's really, what has become my mission for being on this earth.
That's amazing. I mean, I can't imagine anybody thinking that that's weird, strange, or unusual unless they absolutely positively have never experienced unconditional love, which I'm assuming you see in the faces of some of the people that you present to.
Yeah.
You can tell when somebody is open to receiving.
Right.
They're even their eyes are different. Their body language is different. Do you see it different from when you start, let's say, a presentation to when it ends? Can you see that some people are maybe softening a little or opening a little or just thoroughly embracing it?
Yeah, throughout the presentation, really any situation in your life, you always get those vibes, like when we first started this call, and you had certain energy that you felt when I started increasing my pace, or I got really passionate about something. You just are in tune with that heart shield of yours, where you can sense if there's a lot of tension in the audience or if there's a lot of openness and receptiveness, and it's just something that you feel, and you feel that connection. But to your point about some people, having never experienced that love, I always compare them all, anybody really, to like a empty water bottle when you're born, that you're free of all this pain and all these painful experiences in your life. And little by little, you experience death and different things that start to fill your cup up. But the point becomes that if that cup gets so full of pain, how can there ever be any more room for love? And that's what so many youth and people any age are just longing for. That human touch, that caring, that, whatever it is that they just haven't had at home or just throughout their life and their childhood. Because I've heard the stories, they're just incredible, and, it breaks my heart, and I'm in tears hearing them. But that's what I really try to get at. And I know that those people, too, are the ones that are usually going to be impacted the most if they're open to receiving it.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's so important to keep that in mind. In addition to the speaking, in addition to the reaching out, you've got so many other projects. There's one that I want to toss at you, and I say it that way simply because I saw the posting earlier on Facebook. Am I too old for the wiffle ball games?
No. I try all different types of things. It's funny. The only sport that I do on a consistent basis is basketball, because I still love basketball, and I play a couple nights a week, and that's kind of one of my releases too. But I get requests to go play softball some nights. I just got this one request from one of my friends that I got done at Wayne State with, that he's in a wiffle ball league, and it's a real competitive one from what I heard, and people are throwing the wiffle ball like up to 70 miles an hour apparently. So I'm probably gonna try that out, and I do disc golf and bocce ball, and anything out there that I just kind of get thrown into. I'll try it out, and I guess that's kind of what keeps me open to experiencing new things, and yeah.
I just couldn't resist. I saw that posting,
right.
Inviting everybody to the wiffle ball games, and I thought, wiffle ball? And then when I saw what he wrote about how fast that ball was thrown, I said, wait a minute, isn't it a little plastic ball with a bunch of holes in it, for heaven's sake?
That's what yeah, right.
I'm like, wow, that thing's got to be flying. So we'll be checking back on your Facebook page to find out how these wiffle ball games are going, because I think that is so much fun. So we're gonna throw you a loopy-doop here right before I let you give us reiterate one more time how to reach you and how to find you. I'd like you to finish this thought. Mm-hmm. Live each day as if it were your
last, and first. And I guess I say that just because obviously there's no guarantees, as you've seen with people that have gone to their rest and at funerals, that people have died at very young ages. So you do need to cherish every moment that you have, and try to be present to it, but also as your first, because when you're born, you're free of all that hate in your heart and that racism and stereotypes and prejudice, and you're innocent and pure. And if you live each day as your first, then hopefully some of those qualities come out.
That would be a beautiful world to live in if we did that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Something to consider, definitely something to consider. Where can we find you? If you would like to remind us all once again, I'll let you give any and all websites, any and all other information. If people are looking to bring you in as a speaker, do you work just during the school year? Give us kind of like the advertising package here, because we've all got our pens ready.
Sure thing. So the website that we mentioned before, Being Who I Want to Be with the number 2, beingwhoiwanttobe.org, is my central website, and on there is my official speaking demo, so you can kind of see me live, but it also has links to my Facebook, YouTube, Twitter page, also my Bandcamp page. MrPeace.bandcamp.com is where you can see all my music, so all the hip-hop that I do. If you want to download the music for free, you can go there and just play it. Also, on my website, you can download one of my press packets, which contains some of the speaking topics that I do, some past testimonials, speaking references, bio background, etc. And if you just want to contact me directly, 856-677-3223 is my phone number, and that stands for 856 Mr. Peace. So those are the 7 digits. And then also
it is, isn't it?
Yeah. And then my email address is Szawala, so K and then my last name SZAWALA @gmail.com. But I speak all year. I primarily, like during the school year, yes, I'm going to elementary through high schools, but I'm also going to other colleges, universities, churches, peace conferences, youth conferences, and really, any opportunity I'm always open to. And in terms of where you'll find me, probably somewhere around this state, hopefully starting to branch out to some other states in this Midwest region and eventually the nation. But as of right now, that's where I'm at.
And there's enough to do in Michigan, seriously, with the crisis of unemployment in cities like Flint, which it saddens me to hear that when they talked about the worst city in the United States to live in was Flint, Michigan, and it had to do with the crime. And I thought, wow. I mean, I just heard that within the last 24 hours. And I thought, please, 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 you guys. And second was Detroit. And I was born and raised in Highland Park and in Detroit, so that just broke my heart again. And I thought, come on, you guys. You know, there's so much more to do with our lives and so much more to live for. Can't you think of something else? Gosh, I mean, that's just kind of sad.
I mean, I feel that Detroit, Michigan in general, is going to be the epicenter for a huge change coming about, especially within this next decade. But it's something that it's like ground zero almost, that, you know, it's hit rock bottoms, you know, both cities like Flint, like you said, and other ones around Michigan in particular. But it's something that, you know, we can never lose the hope, though, because there's still so many things that are positive that are going around in the city, you know, various open mics and art events that people are coming together, and community gardens. And I see, you know, because I'm down there a lot too, and I see a lot of the great that's going on, and I try to promote the heck out of that. But I know for most people that see it on the news, you know, and we get all the bad raps, you know, for all the crime, and the violence and the poverty and the abandoned buildings and all those things. But I think if we can, you know, continue to band together and make people see a lot of the positive things about that city and about this state, that we can reverse a lot of the current trends that we're seeing.
And it not only reverse the trends for other people to see it, but for the people that live right there, those children that are raised in that environment and that grow up with the stigma, oh, you're from Detroit? I remember moving to a suburb, to Westland, in 1972, and I was a junior in high school at that time, and somebody said, you mean you lived in Detroit, you were in Detroit and you lived to tell about it? And I thought, what kind of crazy comment was that, you know? That was goofy. But just because they knew I was from Detroit, Kevin, they actually treated me differently, and I thought, oh, please, you know, come on, you guys.
Right. But, or have you been shot at, or do you have bullet holes? I mean, all those questions come up for sure.
Kind of crazy. So all that you're doing is so amazing, and yet it's just as simple as remembering that the first and the best and the greatest is always going to be love, and that peace and love coming together is going to elevate us and move us forward. And as long as you're doing what you love, you will be at peace. Have I pretty much got your message?
Yeah, that's right. You know, it's follow your heart. And, you know, the Institute of Heart Math has even proven that your heart has its own cognitive process separate from the brain. So even though that phrase is cliche, to follow your heart, that when someone tells you that, you could actually be doing it. And to really just go with those, you know, with those gut instincts. And hopefully it'll lead to a life of success and fulfillment for you. Wow.
We certainly appreciate all the enthusiasm and the pep and the joy to follow our hearts coming from you today. Kevin Szawala, Mr. Peace, I wish you well on everything you do. We're going to keep track of you on Facebook and hopefully through the Body, Mind, Spirit Guide. Keep up to date on what's going on with you, where to find all your great music, your poetry that's going to be coming out soon, and the PEACE rally up in Ann Arbor come in September. Thank you so much for being a part of our show today, Kevin. It's been a pleasure to have you on Body, Mind, Spirit Radio. Thank you. Take care. I hope you've enjoyed learning about Kevin Szawala, also known as Mr. Peace. If you would like to know more about him, if you need any of the addresses that he gave out, please check with our Body, Mind, Spirit Guide. Give us a day to get it updated so that you can find them. You can also find Kevin on Facebook, and if you go to his link through his website, beingwhoiwant2.org, you can connect with him through all of those wonderful social media sites, and you will always know where to find him. You always know where to find us. We are Body, Mind, Spirit Radio. This is Annette Aben for In Touch Interviews. Have a great, great day. Thank you.